My mission from a system was to redeem the obsessive supporting character, teach her to love herself, marry her, and for her sake stay in this world. And I did, until the man she'd always been obsessed with, Caleb Winters, came back to town. That's when she started sneaking out in the middle of the night, returning with a reek of cheap booze clinging to her clothes. I only asked a simple question, my voice laced with concern. Her patience snapped. "Chloe, you're here to be by my side, that's it. Why do you have to worry about so much?" I froze, sure I'd misheard her. Isabel realized her mistake and instantly softened her expression, melting into the gentle look I knew so well. "No, Kai, that's not what I meant. I mean, you don't have to worry. I'll always love you." She slid closer, looping her arm through mine in that familiar coaxing way. But this time the scent of stale smoke and alcohol was mixed with a sharp, distinctly male cologne that assaulted my senses. I flinched, pulling my arm free and shifting away from her. The clock on the bedroom wall showed it was already 1 in the morning. "So who called that you had to run out in the middle of the night?" I asked, my voice flat. Her face hardened. "Just a friend. Why are you asking so many questions? If you're going to be like this, I'll just sleep in the guest room." She yanked open the bedroom door, pausing on the threshold to look back at me. "After all this time, I can't believe you don't trust me, but you don't trust us, Kai. I'm so disappointed in you. You've changed." She shut the door, leaving me alone on the edge of the bed. Had I changed, or had she? We'd been together for so long. Maybe I shouldn't be so suspicious. Maybe it really was just a friend. I knew she was a Vance, an heiress with a wide circle of friends, many of whom loved to party. She mostly cut them off after we got together, after the first few times I'd had to pick her up from some club. My brow furrowed as I cleaned her up. She saw how much I hated the smell and promised she'd stop going. It had been years. Maybe she just forgot. I knew I was just lying to myself, but I wanted to wait, to give her the benefit of the doubt. What if I was just overthinking it? But before I could even lie down, I heard a noise from the front of the house. Isabel on the phone. "You lost your key card? Fine. I'm coming right now, just wait there." Her voice was rushed, and then I heard the front door slam. I rubbed my temples, a wave of exhaustion washing over me. That was the second time she'd left tonight. I lay down and squeezed my eyes shut, forcing myself not to think, but my mind was painfully alert, and a moment later I heard the front door open and close again, more softly this time. My heart skipped a beat. "Keep it down," Isabel whispered. "Don't wake Kai. You haven't showered and he hates the smell of smoke and booze. He'll kick you out if he wakes up." It was her, and she wasn't alone. "This is kind of thrilling, isn't it?" a man's voice teased. "Like we're having an affair. The wife sneaking her lover in while the husband's fast asleep." I ignored the implication, focusing on the voice. It was horribly familiar. Caleb Winters, of course, the story's original leading man. He was back. Isabel giggled, a shy, flirtatious sound as she bantered with him. So she knew I hated the smell, knew no husband would be happy to find his wife bringing another man home in the dead of night. And yet she brought Caleb back reeking of the club. The warmth in my chest turned to ice. I heard their muffled footsteps approaching the guest room down the hall. "Hey, you can't go in there," Caleb protested playfully. "That's where I'm staying." "So you're not sleeping in the master bedroom? Not after you got me smelling like this." "It's your fault." "Fine, you can take the couch, just be gone by morning. I'll start looking for an apartment for you tomorrow." "You're not going to let me warm up your bed? That's a little cold, isn't it? You used to beg me, practically crawling all over me." Caleb's voice was slick with contempt, devoid of any respect. "But now that Anya doesn't want me, I guess you finally got what you wanted. Come on, let's go." There was a sound of a half-hearted struggle, and then the guest room door clicked shut. My stomach churned. In the book, Isabel Vance had been pathetically in love with Caleb Winters, a complete doormat he could walk all over. She was a glamorous, beautiful heiress who should have had her own pride. I had worked so hard to show her what a relationship of equals felt like, to give her back her dignity. But the moment he came back, it was as if all my years of effort had vanished in thin air. She was right back to being his shameless simp. A bitter, self-mocking smile touched my lips. All these years, I had been such a fool. Originally, I was just a background character in this world story, an orphan who ended up in a coma after a car accident. The system created this new identity for me, giving me a mission: get close to the female supporting character Isabel and stop her from destroying the main couple's relationship. Once the mission was complete, I could return to my original body and wake up. I'd visited the hospital once. I saw my own body lying there, tubes and wires everywhere, sustained by machines. The visits were few and far between, and the hospital bills were being paid directly from my bank account. I thought staying here with Isabel would be better. At least I loved her, and I believed she loved me. I wouldn't be alone anymore. So when a mission was declared a success, I chose to stay. The system warned me against it again and again, but I didn't listen. Eventually it detached and left this world. Isabel and I were together for years. We never went public with our relationship because of my manufactured identity, but we were happy. She ran a successful entertainment company, and I was an award-winning songwriter, frequently writing hits for her artists. She wasn't supposed to be the person she was in the book. I tried to console myself. Maybe she just pitied Caleb after all. She'd loved him for so long. Now he was back, down on his luck, and her residual feelings were making her feel sorry for him. Maybe it was just like she said, a friend. Maybe it would blow over. I woke up early, planning to confront them, to just get all out in the open. But as my hand touched the bedroom doorknob, I heard hushed movements in the hallway. Go. Hurry up before he finds out. Finds out what? That we have this ambiguous, shady thing going on? Oh, stop it, she giggled. Just go. We have things to do later. My hand dropped. The disappointment was absolute. If they were just friends, why all the secrecy? Why act like a pair of thieves? This had to end. Separation was the only way. I got dressed, preparing to leave for a business meeting. When it was over, I would tell her I wanted a divorce. Dragging this out any longer would be torture for her and humiliating for me. I arrived at the high-rise that housed Vance Entertainment. My meeting was with a star agent, looking for songs for a new artist they were pushing. I was headed to one of the practice rooms to see what this new talent had to offer. As I looked up, I saw Isabel arm in arm with Caleb Winters, laughing as they walked into the building and disappeared into an elevator. I had a collaboration with her company, and here she was flirting with another man and bringing him into the office. Mr. Lin, over here, an assistant called, waving me over from the entrance. I swallowed the bitter taste in my mouth and walked toward him. The agent led us to the practice room. He glanced through the glass panel on the door, and a flicker of surprise crossed his face, quickly replaced by a professional smile. Mr. Lin, it seems our CEO is taking a personal interest in this collaboration. She's here herself. An awful thought sparked in my mind. A second later, the agent pushed the door open and two familiar figures stood before me. The agent bowed his head slightly. Ms. Vance, what a pleasant surprise. I'd like to introduce you to the hitmaker we were so excited to bring on board, Mr. Kylan. A buzzing filled my ears, drowning out his words. All I could process was the reality in front of me. Caleb was the new artist, and Isabel, the CEO, was here personally to champion him. I dug my nails into my palm, forcing myself to stay calm. Isabel's eyes widened in shock for a split second before she schooled her features into a mask of professional indifference, pretending she didn't know me. Caleb, on the other hand, shed the arrogant disdain he usually showed Isabel and smiled, his voice dripping with smug satisfaction. Bella and I go way back. She's the one who sponsored my scholarship to Juilliard. We kept in touch the whole time I was in New York. He didn't recognize me, but he knew I was the songwriter they were trying to hire. He turned to me. Bella kept me updated on the music scene here before I even moved back. She had an agent and a contract ready for me. He was laying it on thick, showing off how important he was to the boss, hoping to impress me into the deal. But the more he talked, the wider my smile grew. Isabel shot me a nervous glance and tugged on his arm. Okay, that's enough. We're here to talk business. Let's not get sidetracked. The agent chuckled, trying to lighten the mood. Well, it's clear Miss Vance and Caleb are very close. So, this collaboration, Mr. Lin, what do you think? I just smiled. Oh, very close. He certainly latched onto the ultimate meal ticket. You don't see that every day? A truly rare kind of artist. Caleb's eyes narrowed, a new edge to his voice. Are you jealous, Mr. Lin, that I have a benefactor and you don't? An opportunity like this is rare. We've been friends for years. It's only natural you wouldn't have the same connection. The agent's face fell. He wanted to shut Caleb up, but didn't dare with Isabel right there. He just shot him a warning glare. Caleb was used to being coddled by Isabel, so my slight provocation was enough to make him lose his cool. I laughed. You're right, I don't have one. My mountain is currently being used as a stepladder for someone else. My gaze was fixed on Isabel. She panicked, gripping Caleb's arm tighter. Stop it, you're getting off topic. Let's get back to the project. The agent, realizing something was deeply wrong, glanced between us. Everyone in the room was sharp enough to read the situation. The atmosphere shifted, filled with knowing sidelong glances. Isabel's face flushed with humiliation. She tried to leave, but Caleb held her back. I scoffed and turned to walk out. I just admire his talent, she called after me. That's all it is. I didn't look back, just gave a dismissive wave. Whatever. Find him a songwriter who can appreciate his talent. I'm out. I felt like a complete joke. I had actually tried to make excuses for her. This wasn't pity. She had been fawning over Caleb all along, even when our own relationship was supposedly at its best. She never cut him off. I started to wonder if our love had ever been real at all. I caught my reflection in a glass panel on the way out. My face was a wreck. I was smiling, but it looked more tragic than crying. The practice rooms were only a few floors up. I pushed open the door to the fire escape and started taking stairs down. Behind me, I heard frantic footsteps. Kai, wait. Isabel running to catch up. I glanced down at her stilettos. She was really putting in the effort for Caleb, chasing me this far in those things. I stopped and turned to face her. She clutched the railing, panting. Don't misunderstand. There's really nothing between me and Caleb. We're just friends from before. I held up a hand to stop her. It's fine. You don't need to explain anything to me. It's pointless. Your actions have already told me everything I need to know. A sneer came from the doorway at the top of the stairs. The great hitmaker, Caleb drawled, his expression dripping with contempt. Can't even hold on to his own woman. But I guess I can't blame you. When Isabel was chasing me around like a pathetic little simp, you were probably still a nobody in some forgotten corner of the world. The words were like a slap. I instinctively looked at Isabel's face, expecting to see shame or anger, but she wasn't humiliated. Instead, a faint blush crept up her ears. She was flustered, shy. A laugh escaped my lips, hollow and dead. You're right, I said. Someone like that. She's all yours. I looked back at Isabel. 7 o'clock tonight. I'll be waiting at home to talk about the divorce. She froze, her face a mask of disbelief as the blush drained away. What did you say? She'd heard me. She just couldn't believe it. I didn't want to say another word. I turned and left. I had my lawyer draw up the divorce papers that evening. I sat in the living room and waited. The only thing that came was her phone call. I'm not getting a divorce, she said, her voice firm. I already told you. There's nothing going on with him. We're just friends. Stop being so paranoid. The background was loud. I could faintly make out shouts of cheers and get up and dance, the unmistakable sounds of a club. I could also hear Caleb's voice. She was with him again. He's about to launch his career, I said quietly. Being seen at a club right now probably isn't the best look. I'll handle it, she said dismissively. You don't need to worry about that. All you need to do is write his songs. Not happening. I hung up, my voice cold. I had already turned down the project that morning, and still she was trying to push me into it for his sake, completely ignoring my feelings. In the end, she would always choose him. I felt nothing but a bone-deep weariness. I collapsed onto the bed and drifted into a restless, heavy sleep. The next morning, my phone rang. It was my assistant. Mr. Lin, that collaboration, are you really not going to do it? He asked, hesitant. No. He seemed to let out a sigh of relief. That's good. I was just afraid that. He stopped abruptly. Afraid of what? A full night's sleep had done nothing for me. My head was pounding, my face felt hot. Just say it. He seemed to make up his mind. I'll send it to you. You should see for yourself. He hung up quickly. A second later, a photo appeared on my screen. It was almost noon when Isabel finally came home, smelling like a brewery. I gave you all night to reflect, she said, her tone condescending. So, have you come to your senses yet? She actually thought ghosting me was giving me time to think. I pressed my hand to my aching forehead, managing a weak, pained smile. I want a divorce, I said, each word slowly and clearly. She didn't seem to notice how sick I felt. Her face just clouded over. I told you, I'm not getting a divorce. Caleb and I are just old friends who haven't seen each other in years. He just got back to town. He doesn't have a job yet. Of course I'm going to help him out a little. Why can't you trust me? You're overthinking everything. She sighed dramatically, as if I was the ultimate disappointment. I held up my phone, my smile turning into a cold smirk. The photo from my assistant was of a nightclub booth. In it, Isabel was holding Caleb in a tight, intimate embrace, her eyes overflowing with adoration, her lips just inches from his neck. "Friends about to kiss?" I asked. I'd taken some fever reducers, but I still felt like death. Meanwhile, she looked like she'd had the time of her life. Isabel froze. It's not what it looks like. I probably had too much to drink. He was leading me on. You know how he is. I'm his boss now. As soon as I get his career set up, I can hand everything over to his agent. I won't have to talk to him anymore. Just give me a few more days. She sat down next to me, taking my arm, her smile pleading. We're not getting a divorce. We promised. We said we'd never leave each other. Have you forgotten? I glanced at her coldly. We also promised you'd never go to a club again. Have you forgotten that? Since we're both so forgetful, we might as well just go our separate ways. Isabel angrily threw my arm off. I've tried being nice and you just won't listen, will you? Don't you forget, you came into this world for me. I'm the only reason you're still here. Without me, where would you go? A confident, cruel smile spread across her face. You only have me in this world, Kai. You can only stay by my side, so you're just going to have to stay put. I watched her face. She was perfectly calm. I knew with chilling certainty that she meant every word. A cold dread crept up my spine. I had no idea this was how she saw me. The truth, ripped open and exposed, felt like a giant hand squeezing my heart, making it hard to breathe. But she was wrong about one thing. I wasn't trapped here. I never told her that I was originally from this world, that if the consciousness in this body was subjected to a powerful shock, my own consciousness could gradually transfer back to my original comatose body, and I would wake up. This body would then die, becoming an empty shell. To trigger that shock, I needed to experience a near-death state, and the weaker this body became, the faster the transfer would be. As my consciousness moved, so would my memories. While I was still lucid, I quietly transferred all my assets to my original self's bank accounts. I wasn't about to let all my hard work go to waste. I told my assistant not to book any new projects and to start wrapping up all current work. He looked bewildered. "Mr. Lin, are you retiring?" I thought for a moment, then nodded. "Something like that. You should start looking for a new position. Once everything here is settled, you'll be free to go." He looked sad. "There's no better boss than you." I just smiled. He was a good assistant, and I'd make sure he was well compensated, but all good things come to an end. With everything arranged, I started thinking about how to get close to death without actually dying. I couldn't die outright. A transfer that fast would shatter my consciousness. So I put on a thin t-shirt and wandered out into the crisp autumn night. Maybe I could catch a cold, get a high fever. It was a start. When my life slowed down, when I was no longer orbiting Isabel, I started to see the beauty of the world around me. Leaves swirled to the ground. Old brick apartment buildings and quiet alleyways seemed to hold the weight of history. I didn't know where I was going, but this city suddenly felt small, small enough that no matter where I went, I ran into Isabel and the man she adored, Caleb Winters. They were in a dimly lit alley talking about something. They stood close, the air between them thick with unspoken things. I didn't want to interrupt. Isabel had said she would handle the situation with Caleb and stop contacting him. But what could she possibly be handling in a dark alley? A gust of wind blew past. I turned to leave, but out of the corner of my eye I saw a planter on a second-story windowsill wobbling precariously. I was about to shout for them to move when another stronger gust swept through. The planter tipped and fell. In that split second, instinct took over. I lunged forward and shoved Isabel out of the way, but all I heard was a dull, heavy impact. I really am a good person. I woke up to a throbbing, dull pain in my forehead. The sharp antiseptic smell of a hospital filled my nose. I stared blankly at the ceiling tiles. I was in a hospital. Why was I in a hospital? Kai, you're finally awake. Are you hurting anywhere else? Isabel burst through the door, rushing to my bedside. What are you doing here? I asked, confused. Wait, why am I here? I tried to touch the wound on my forehead, but only felt the rough texture of gauze. What happened to my head? She hesitated. You don't remember? Remember what? You saved me last night. A flower pot fell and hit you on the head. Her explanation was vague, just a rough outline. I was even more confused. What? Did I save you? And how did I get hit by a flower pot? Isabel stared at me, a strange look on her face. You don't remember anything? You don't remember saving me? I stared back at her, just as baffled. Why would I save you? And besides, we haven't seen each other in ages, right? You've been busy with your new artist, and I've been home alone. How could I have saved you? Her face flushed with anger, as if I'd hit a nerve. Do you have to be so sarcastic? I told you there's nothing going on with him. Your jealousy has to have a limit, and now you're pretending to have amnesia? Is saving me that unbearable for you? You have to deny it? I had a faint, fuzzy memory of pushing someone, but who it was or where we were, I couldn't recall at all. A flicker of joy went through me. The consciousness transfer had begun. My lips were cracked and dry, my throat burning from thirst. I tried to sit up, but had no strength. Looking at Isabel's furious face, I figured she wouldn't be getting me any water. The discomfort made it hard to speak, so I said nothing. My silence, however, was something she took as defiance. She continued her tirade, accusing and blaming me. I just watched her quietly. I thought I would feel devastated, but I didn't. There was only a faint sting of being misunderstood. Her voice eventually trailed off, perhaps realizing I wasn't faking it. A flicker of panic crossed her eyes. Just then, a doctor came in to do his rounds. She grabbed his arm frantically. He says he doesn't remember how he got hurt. He has amnesia. Is that possible? The doctor looked me over, his eyes landing on my chapped lips. He frowned. How are you taking care of this patient? He's clearly dehydrated. Can't you see he can barely speak? Get him some water now. Isabel fell silent, her face red with embarrassment. She brought a cup of water over and helped me sit up. There's no bleeding in the brain, the doctor explained. The memory loss is likely psychological, triggered by a recent shock or emotional distress. If he can resolve the underlying issue, his memory should return. Isabel nodded eagerly, clinging to his every word. She started pacing the room, muttering to herself, trying to pinpoint what could have shocked me. He saw me with Caleb, and it broke his heart. The things I said to him were too harsh. Caleb provoked him. It was none of those things. It was the impact, the feeling of near death that had triggered the transfer of my consciousness. That's why I'd forgotten the event that started it all. Isabel took me home from the hospital. She seemed to be in a good mood, turning to look at me while we waited at a red light. I've completely handed Caleb over to his agent. From now on, he and I won't have any contact. You can relax. She paused, then added, and Caleb's one that got away is back in town. He won't be coming around looking for me anyway. Oh, the main female lead was back. Caleb was off chasing her now. I didn't say anything, but Isabel's spirits were high and she chatted on. I used to find this side of her charming. Now it was just noise. The man she was obsessed with didn't want her anymore. So why was she so thrilled? I didn't get it. I leaned my head against the window and closed my eyes, feigning sleep, hoping she'd take the hint. She fell silent. I let out a quiet sigh of relief. The world was peaceful again. When we got home, Isabel's excitement seemed to reach its peak. She pushed open the door and looked at me expectantly, her eyes a mix of nervousness and shyness. I looked past her, confused. The coffee table was covered in roses arranged in the shape of a heart. Beyond that, on the dining table, a single rose stood in an elegant vase, flanked by two tall candles, two place settings each with a perfectly cooked steak and a glass of red wine. It was the picture of romance. Thank you for celebrating me getting out of the hospital, I said, genuinely appreciative. The hopeful look on her face froze, then quickly melted back into a smile. It's not for that. Well, I guess you could say that's part of it. Her words were confusing. I didn't understand. Huh? If it's not for my discharge, then what is it? She gave me a playful, coy look. Oh, stop pretending. Even if you didn't get me a gift because you were in the hospital, I wouldn't blame you. I got you something. I counted the days in my head. It wasn't Valentine's Day, wasn't my birthday, and it wasn't any other holiday I could think of. As I tried to figure out, her expression slowly hardened. You really don't remember? I sighed. Please stop with the guessing games. I honestly have no idea. Her face fell. It's our wedding anniversary. How could you forget? Is it a side effect of getting hit? Did you lose this memory too? She shook her head, her eyes welling up. No, it's impossible. You couldn't have forgotten this. You would never forget. You always cared so much. The doctor said you wouldn't forget the important things. I took a step back. She was starting to scare me. Say something. You haven't forgotten. You're lying to me. How could our anniversary not be important? She grabbed my shoulders and started shaking me. I stayed silent, letting her. The injury had accelerated the transfer. I really had forgotten. Isabel couldn't accept it. She shoved me hard, then stormed out of the house, slamming the door behind her, looking utterly lost. Later that night, Caleb returned, propping up a drunken Isabel. He casually tossed her onto the sofa and smirked. I had no idea she still had me as her emergency contact. Otherwise, the bartender wouldn't have called me to pick her up. He feigned annoyance. I don't even like her, but she just won't stop clinging. I guess I have to put up with it since she's my boss. I touched my chest. My heart should have been aching, filled with sorrow, but I felt nothing, not a single ripple. I looked up at him. Oh, my calm seemed to provoke him. He sneered. What's with the act? She's my simp and you're her simp. You must be dying inside, right? You can tell me. I'll try to keep my distance from her if it helps. I shook my head. No need. And for the record, I'm not a simp. I would never throw away my self-respect for someone I love. I glanced outside. The weather was turning colder, the nights even more so. I even found it in me to be polite. Why don't you stay the night in the guest room? You've stayed there before. He stared at me, dumbfounded. You knew I was here before? I did, I said calmly. It was strange. Back then the knowledge had kept me up all night in agony. Now, looking back, I couldn't even comprehend that feeling. Caleb was convinced I was putting on a show. He went to the guest room, but turned at the door. I'm curious to see how long you can keep this up. I shook my head wearily and turned my attention to the drunk on the couch. Isabel was muttering something, but I had no interest in trying to decipher it. I honestly had no idea how my former self could have tolerated such a stinking drunk. I hated the smell of smoke and alcohol more than anything. I remembered how I used to lean in close, trying to catch her drunken words. But what good ever comes out of a drunk's mouth? I must have been sick when Caleb brought her home. My plan had been to wait another 10 minutes, and if she wasn't back, I'd lock the door from the inside. Now that she was here, I just locked up and went to my bedroom. As I closed my eyes, I felt like I was forgetting something. I couldn't place it. Whatever, time to sleep. The next morning, I woke up naturally for the first time in ages. Isabel was sitting on the couch, her face haggard. The moment she saw me, her head snapped up. You just left me there all night. What was I supposed to do, give you a bath? My tone was so matter-of-fact that her eyes immediately turned red. You never used to be like this. Oh, I asked, curious. What was I like before? She bit her lip. You would have made me hangover soup, massaged my temples, washed my face, changed my clothes. Did you forget all of that too? I thought for a moment. Couldn't remember. Another night's sleep, another batch of forgotten memories. Good. Just then the guest room door opened, and Caleb shuffled out looking sleepy. Isabel jumped. Then a look of pure hatred crossed her face as she glared at him. Caleb, you again. It's all your fault. You're the one who traumatized Kai, and now he's forgotten so much about us. She staggered to her feet and lunged at him, her manicured nails like claws, but she was still hung over and unstable, and she tripped and fell to the floor. Caleb was surprised by her sudden turn, then his expression grew cold. What does that have to do with me? Weren't you the one who allowed it, who encouraged it? Isabel tried to scramble up, but Caleb just stepped around her and walked out the door. She sat on the floor, a pathetic, wretched mess. A flicker of pity rose in me. It had nothing to do with love. I just felt sorry for her to be humiliated like that by the person she adored. I sighed. Go wash up. I'll make some breakfast. A glimmer of hope lit up in Isabel's eyes. While I placed a bowl of shrimp scampi on the table, Isabel eagerly scooped some up with her fork, but the moment it touched her tongue, her face contorted and she quickly spit it out. What's wrong? Is it not cooked? Too salty? I took a bite myself. It was perfect, tender, garlicky, delicious. I frowned. Even if you're mad at me, you don't have to take it out on the food. Isabel stared at me, her eyes glassy with tears. You forgot this too? I don't eat shrimp. I'm allergic to shellfish. Do you really not love me anymore? Is everything about me just unimportant now? I ignored the latter part of her question. Oh, that's a shame, to be allergic to shellfish. After all, with my memories gone, the emotions had gone with them. Love? I didn't feel a thing. Isabel wiped her eyes with the back of her hand and looked up, her expression resolute. We're going to the hospital. They can fix you. Her determination was absolute. I had nothing better to do and was curious to see what a hospital could possibly find, so I went with her. She told the doctor I'd been hit by a flower pot and wondered if there was a brain bleed putting pressure on a nerve, blocking my memories. This time we went to a major medical center, and they sent me for a CT scan. The result, of course, was that there was nothing physically wrong with me. Isabel leaned against the wall, head bowed, looking deeply disappointed. But I was stuck on one thought. How'd I get hit by a flower pot? From what she said, it had happened recently. My memory was getting worse and worse, forgetting even recent events. This consciousness transfer was a messy business. I was silent for so long that Isabel finally asked, "What are you thinking about? When did I get hit by a flower pot?" I replied without thinking. She looked shocked. But before you just didn't remember saving me. How can you have forgotten the whole thing?" I instantly realized my mistake. No, there's been a lot going on lately. I must have gotten things mixed up. It was a terrible excuse. I had nothing going on, and I regretted the moment I said it. But Isabel didn't know anything about my work, or rather, she didn't know anything about me. She just nodded thoughtfully, believing me. "If you're feeling better, I'm going to my office." "Go ahead," I said with a wave. She didn't even know my studio had been quietly dismantled, just waiting for my departure to announce its closure. I'd never really taken the time to see the city on my own. Seizing the opportunity, I wandered around, losing track of time until it was dark. I grabbed a bite from a food truck and ambled my way home. The living room lights were on. Isabel's eyes were frighteningly red. The moment she heard the door, she rushed over. "Where have you been? Why are you back so late? I was about to go out looking for you. Did you need something?" I paused, then corrected myself. "If you need something, you can call Caleb." "Why would I call him?" "You're my husband," she said, annoyed, grabbing my hand. I calmly pulled it free. "Really? Your emergency contact is him. I thought you two were close. He's the one who brought you home from the club yesterday. You can't have forgotten that." An unnatural expression flickered across her face. "That was set up a long time ago as a joke. I forgot to change it. I'll change it right now to you." I stopped her as she reached for her phone. "Don't. If something really happens, don't bother me." That was too harsh. I softened my tone. "I mean, what if you can't reach me? I wouldn't want to hold you up." Isabel seemed not to care what I said. She threw her arms around me, holding me tight. "You know I missed you. I thought about you all day. I love you. Caleb, that's all in the past. You've forgotten the past, so I'll forget it too. We can start over, okay? You can't just decide to forget memories. Stop kidding yourself, it's pointless." I tried to push her away but couldn't. When she was unhinged, she was surprisingly strong. Her voice was almost a sob. "Don't be like this, Kai. I really don't love him. I love you. After all these years, don't you believe me? I'll never talk to him again." I shook my head. "There's no need. It doesn't matter what you two do. You don't have to consider me." I just didn't care. Isabel sniffled. I instinctively shoved her away. Sure enough, tears were streaming down her face. Good thing they didn't get on me. My look of disgust must have been too obvious, because Isabel looked even more wounded. How did it come to this? Impossible. Impossible. Give me back my Kai. Kai. Her face was a mess of tears and snot. I felt a little sick and quickly backed away. She wiped her face. "Don't worry, I will fix you. Just wait." She rushed out of the house into the middle of the night. I had no idea what she was planning. With so much forgotten lately, I went to the study and pulled a journal from a drawer. Lying on top of it was the divorce agreement. I smacked my forehead. How could I have forgotten about this? Before bed, I placed the divorce papers on the nightstand and tucked the journal under my pillow. The next morning, I opened my eyes to find Isabel crouched by the bed, staring at me with an unnerving intensity. "The doctor said you lost your memory because of a shock," she said. "So, if I get rid of the source of the shock, you'll get better." I thought she was going to get rid of herself. Instead, she waved a hand and two large bodyguards dragged a struggling Caleb Winters into the room. Caleb's face was red with rage. "Isabel, what the hell are you doing? Are you insane? How dare you do this to me?" She ignored him, walked up, and slapped him hard across the face, twice. Crack, crack. Caleb's head snapped to the side, a red handprint blooming on his cheek. He worked his jaw, then let out a bitter laugh. "So this is your new kink? Playing rough with me in front of another guy? I never knew you loved me this obsessively." He was deliberately provoking her, refusing to accept that she'd moved on, But reality was about to teach him a lesson. Isabel kicked him viciously, a ferocity I'd never seen in her before. She grabbed his collar. Say it. Say there's nothing between us, but I'm just your boss. Caleb clamped his mouth shut, glaring at me with pure hatred. I had no interest in watching the soap opera. My gaze shifted and caught the corner of my journal peeking out from under the pillow next to the papers on the nightstand. I pulled out the journal and clutched it to my chest, then casually handed the divorce agreement to Isabel. Stop the drama. Just sign this, then you can do whatever you want. When she saw what it was, she started to tremble. No, I won't sign it. She violently swatted it away. I stumbled back, caught off guard, and the journal fell to the floor. It landed, of all things, open to the last page I'd written, the one where I detailed what Caleb had said the night she came home drunk. Her eyes darted to it. She snatched it up, read it, and her face twisted in rage. She turned on Caleb and began slapping him again, relentlessly. It's all your fault. You and your stupid mouth. You're the reason Kai lost his memory. With every accusation, she struck him again. Caleb stopped laughing, his eyes turning cold. Isn't it because you wouldn't leave me alone? I told you I don't love you, but you kept clinging to me like a stray dog. This is all on you. You deserve this. Isabel's face went pale. She stumbled back, her hand trembling, unable to lift it again. She turned. Bodyguards, beat him. The scene turned violent and bloody. I wanted to tell her to stop, but she looked at me with an expectant, pleading expression, as if seeking praise. See? No one would have their own lover beaten like this. Do you believe me now? A mad woman. Caleb was on the floor, beaten, but his mouth was still running. You think she really loves you? She's just pissed that you're not licking her boots anymore. It's her wounded pride. She's using me to get a reaction out of you, the idiot. Haha. You don't love her anymore, so you don't give a damn about me. Isabel moved to strike him again, but I caught her hand. That's enough. He's right. Seeing you with him doesn't make me sad, and seeing you beat him doesn't make me happy. My memory loss has nothing to do with you too. Let go. Isabel clapped her hands over her ears, shaking her head frantically. No, 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 that's not true. You love me, she shrieked, then ran out of the room like a mad thing. In that state, she wasn't signing anything. I sighed and picked up the divorce papers, saving them for another time. My assistant called, his voice buzzing with excitement. Mr. Lin, did you see the headlines? All this dirt on Caleb Winters just got leaked. The label dropped him and is even suing him. His career is over before it even started. He's finished. I figured it was Isabel's handiwork. A nobody rookie wouldn't make national news like that without a powerful push, but it didn't matter to me anymore. I could feel the memory loss accelerating. At any moment, I could just see. Isabel wouldn't give up. She dragged me all over the city, trying to retrace the steps of our relationship. I just treated it as a sightseeing tour. We ended up at a park. She pointed to a large fountain. This is where you proposed to me. She was lost in a blissful, nostalgic smile on her face. I followed her gaze. A young couple was surrounded by a crowd. It looked like the man was proposing. Anya Hayes, I love you. Will you marry me? The man's voice boomed across the park. The crowd cheered. I heard the woman shout back, Leo Chun, yes, I will. In my peripheral vision, I saw a familiar figure lurking behind a tree. Isabel's expression soured, and when she followed my gaze, her face turned black. It was Caleb. I understood immediately. The woman being proposed to was Anya, the main female lead from the original story. She already had a boyfriend, and now, not long after returning to the country, she was getting married. No wonder Caleb had been so bitter and sarcastic with me. The love of his life had found someone else. Caleb noticed us. He started to turn away, but Isabel dragged me over to him. Well, look who's getting married. And look at you, like a kicked puppy. So pathetic. Who's the real dog now, huh? She deliberately linked her arm with mine, leaning against me in a picture of feigned happiness. Caleb's face was a stony mask. Your acting is terrible. Being called out didn't faze her. She dropped my arm and eyed him scornfully. At least it's better than your reality. You have nothing. You will never have a chance with her. She smiled, triumphant. Caleb's jaw tightened, his fists clenched. This is your fault. He suddenly lunged, his hands closing around Isabel's throat. If my love is gone, then you can die with it. Isabel struggled, her eyes pleading with me. Kai, help me. As my consciousness faded, my body grew weaker. The man was crazed and strong. Fighting him heated would be pointless. And besides, when it came to these two, I felt a strange detachment. If they killed each other, what would it have to do with me? I watched with cold eyes, but my conscience hadn't completely eroded. I calmly pulled out my phone and dialed 911. Isabel's expression turned from struggle to despair as her strength gave out. The proposal crowd erupted in a final cheer as they enveloped the happy couple, moving off into the distance. I sighed. On such a happy day, these two shouldn't be allowed to stain it with their ugliness. I threw a hard punch. Caleb, caught by surprise, loosened his grip. Isabel gasped for air, clutching her throat. I knew it. You still love me. I shook my head. I just didn't want to ruin the mood. I gestured toward the distant happy crowd. The light in her eyes died, replaced by a smile that was uglier than a sob. Kai, you're just as much of a simp as she is. Caleb's voice was a low, menacing growl. She treats you like dirt, and you still protect her. You should have let me kill her. Get out of my way. I won't touch you. Police sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. Caleb panicked. He tried to run, but the police were faster, grabbing him. His face contorted in a mask of rage. Let me go? I'm going to kill her. We'll die together. Isabel hid behind me, brazenly making a face at him. But in the next instant, Caleb wrenched one arm free. He pulled a small knife from his pocket and lunged. Isabel instinctively stumbled backward. Caleb couldn't reach her. His blade turned and came for me instead. Isabel screamed. Kai, move. Caleb, you psycho. I hope you rot in hell. Caleb was quickly subdued again, this time in handcuffs with no chance of escape. I fell straight as a board to the ground. Sir, your invitation, please. I handed the card to the attendant. The gilded invitation read Alain Dubois with a line of smaller text underneath, award-winning composer. It had been some time since I returned to my own body. I spent months in recovery, and now I was getting back to my old life. An acquaintance approached me. Alain, good to see you. You look well. Fully recovered? Does this mean you're making a comeback? I smiled and nodded. Thank you for asking. That's the plan. But the consciousness transfer had left gaps in my memory. Since waking up, I'd felt an emotional void and my compositions were missing something. This industry party seemed like a good place to find inspiration. It was always rife with gossip. Guests mingled in small groups, their conversations drifting into my hearing. I picked up a glass of champagne and stood nearby, listening. Did you guys hear Isabel Vance was secretly married this whole time? That's old news. That's not the point. The point is who her husband was. It was Kai Lin, and he was murdered by Caleb Winters trying to save her. Caleb Winters? Yeah, that pretty boy scholarship kid from USC she used to chase after. A filthy rich Vance heiress debasing herself for a guy who wouldn't give her the time of day. After Kai died, Isabel completely lost it. Neglected her company. Just sits at home all day clutching his ashes. When he was alive, she was chasing another man. Now that he's dead, she's playing the devoted widow. I found the story fascinating. An heiress is an heiress, I suppose, with a flair for the dramatic. Isabel Vance. A sharp pain lanced through my brain. A flood of memories rushed in. So the transfer came with a delay. The memories played out in my mind, and with them came the echo of emotions. When it was over, I let out a long, slow breath. The emotional void was filled. I felt whole again, but the deep, consuming love was gone, completely vanished. From what they were saying, Isabel's mental state was now so unstable that the Vance family was considering sending her to a private treatment facility. As for Caleb Winters, he was convicted of murder and sentenced to death. The main characters of that story, the male lead and the female supporting character, had both met miserable ends. Only the original heroine had found her true love. It turned out that a love story without a villain to mess things up couldn't survive on its own. Inspiration struck. I went straight home and composed through the night. At the concert for the new song, I sat in the front row. The singer looked familiar. When Anya Hayes rushed onto the stage to give him a bouquet of flowers, I recognized him. It was Leo Chun, the man she'd married. What a coincidence. The audience started chanting, Alain Dubois. Alain Dubois. A spotlight hit me. I stood and acknowledged the crowd with a small bow. After the show, I was unexpectedly stopped on my way out. It was Isabel. Her hair was stringy, her frame skeletal. She looked terrible, but her eyes were bright, a light with a desperate, grasping hope. "Is it you, Kai?" she asked, her voice a hushed, trembling whisper. I offered a polite, professional smile. "Ma'am, I think you have me mistaken for someone else." "I'm not mistaken. It is you, Kai. You smiled at me just like that the first time we met. So polite, so gentle, but distant." Kai was a songwriter. Alain Dubois is a songwriter. The moment Kai died, Alain Dubois was miraculously cured. It can't all be a coincidence. Her analysis was sharp, her eyes wild with a frantic, obsessive energy. I simply suggested she see a doctor. For Alain Dubois, Kai Lin was in the past. He was finished, gone forever. He was dead. Isabel stared at me, her gaze boring into me. I let her look. Finally, she broke. She clutched her head, collapsing to the ground, screaming. Members of the Vance family, who had been looking for her, quickly appeared and carried her away. I looked up at the sky. A few stars twinkled in the clear night. Alain Dubois. The rest of my life was long and my future was bright. The end.